No, the title of this video is not a joke. We are really going to talk about this topic. Hello everyone, this is Icy Abyss here, and today we are going to talk about why race swapping is absolutely unacceptable. Well, most of the time at least. Before you watch this video, think of this video as part 2 of why you should not do race swapping in movies. I've already made a video as carefully as I could, and I think you should really watch it if this topic interests you. But the question is, why am I making a second video on this subject when I already have a video on it? The answer is simple. The reason why I am making this video is because I want to answer a simple question or a statement that everyone who supports race swapping keeps saying. And that statement is that there should be no outrage over the changing of the race of character that don't even exist. Prefaces on the word exist. This whole video will be dedicated to bust that statement, or at least I will try. You can let me know if I succeeded or not. So without wasting too much of your time, let me answer this question as simply as I can. No, race swapping should not be done because these characters do exist. There you go, that's my answer. Now let me explain why these characters exist. But before I do that, can you tell me one thing? Can you tell me something about Tony Stark? Everyone knows about Tony Stark, right? Do me a favor and tell me what Tony Stark is about in the comments down below. Or better yet, take any fictional character and tell me what you think about them. No, I don't want you to write about their superpowers or what they did in a movie. I want you to tell me what those characters are about as a person. While you write about your favorite character, let me tell you about my favorite character from MCU, Tony Stark. The man starts off as selfish, overconfident weapons dealer who has no care about the consequences for his actions. When he is abducted by the terrorists, he sees that his very own weapons are being used against his nation, being used to oppress the people, being used by terrorists themselves. After escaping from that place, he quickly changes the course of his company. No longer will Stark Company make weapons. He will dedicate his life to do good and make amends for the harm he's done. After seeing the destruction caused by the Chitauri forces in the Avengers movie, Tony decides to make a machine, kind of an AI drone that will help guard the Earth against such threats. What happens next is something we are all too familiar with. The drone becomes Ultron, who was meant to save Earth, gets hellbent on destroying humanity because he thinks that's the only way to save humanity. Ultron causes so much damage and loss of life. Tony made Ultron to save the world, yet his action caused even more suffering. In Civil War, a woman comes to Tony and tells him how his son had died during the Ultron attack, that his action caused so much misery. Tony decides to sign the Sokovia Accord so the Avengers can stay in check. But in the same movie, he learns how Bucky had killed his parents and how Captain America always knew about it. He loses his friends. He loses Avengers in that movie. In Infinity War, Tony goes to stop Thanos and fails. He watches the kid he mentored turned into ash. Half the universe gone because he could not stop Thanos. Then in Endgame, he would sacrifice himself to save the universe. Why are we talking about Tony Stark, you ask? It's simple. I can talk about him because I have seen him for so long in so many movies. I know his motivations, I know his failures and his accomplishments. Even though he's supposed to be a fictional character, I know him as if he was real. He's real to me. To say that these characters don't exist is such a disrespect. He doesn't need to live in a real world to make lasting impression on people, to make a change, to inspire people. So does any other fictional character. These characters can impact your life, can inspire you, can motivate you, tell you amazing stories. So saying that these characters don't exist is, in my opinion, a really unfair thing. To change them, not just their appearance but their motivations, by saying that they don't exist so it's okay. You cannot fool the fans of that property by saying that, because the fans know the characters. Hell, not just the characters but the world itself. The world has rules and lore that the new stories should abide by, but writers just choose to ignore them. The world of Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter has rules and lore, and so does the world of Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, and even MCU. I think when writers are hired to write new stories for characters and worlds that already exist, they need to do their due diligence and research the world and the lore before writing those newer stories. It should be the minimum requirement for the writers, but nowadays Hollywood is doing the exact opposite, ignoring the lore, the world, and the development of the established characters. fans can see that. They notice and they call out these mistakes. They notice the inconsistencies in the lore. They also call out when a character does something out of character, something they would never do. But instead of admitting their mistakes, the creators hide behind the minorities they hired for the show, calling the fans racist for valid criticism. These writers just seem so entitled to me, the horrible job that they do and then get paid for it. And now they won't even accept criticism, living in their own la la land. But I suppose this trend won't last too long. It's simply not sustainable. When they make horrible movies, no one watches them. They lose money, and no matter how stubborn the studios may be, they will have to start to cater to the fans in due time. You know, the people they make the movies for, right? Well, I hope I was able to give a proper answer to the sentiment that you can change the race of the character just because they don't exist. Because obviously these characters do exist. They exist in fiction, in their own world defined by its own set of rules. And yet, those characters can impact our world as well, at least to some extent. You can think that movies are like documentaries that are on fictional characters. Well, I think this is it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below if I got something wrong or your own thoughts on this subject. And as always, it's time for a goodbye.